What's up, guys? Welcome to the Skeleton Closet, where we talk celebrity news and hot topics. Today, we are getting into Nutmeg on The View. Jamie Spears, lawyer, was on GMA this morning. We're going to talk about that, as well as a couple of different things that happened on Basketball Wives. I want to give you all my 2 cents on that. So, let's get into the video.
I'm going to just run down my shout-outs. The dun-dun.
All right, so today on The View, we had a special guest by the name of Psaki, who is the White House's press secretary. She has been doing a pretty good job of making sure to steer clear of the narrative of talking about Donald Trump. She's been pretty adamant about steering clear about talking about Donald Trump, trying to distance themselves from the past administration. Today, she appeared on The View, and of course, I could have predicted this, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the viewers could have predicted this as well. Meghan McCain had to interject herself and somewhat hijack the segment. Meghan wanted to ask questions as far as what was going on in Texas and at the HHS, Homeland Security facilities where children are being held. These children have left persecution for many different reasons to come to a better life. And there has been reporting that these are the same facilities that were used in the previous administration, where we saw pictures of children in cages and reports of them being ripped from their parents' arms. All right. So Meghan basically wanted to know what was the difference between this and the past administration. So take a look at this.
Hi, Jen. This week, a migrant facility that operated under the Trump administration for only a month in September 2019 is being reactivated to hold up to 700 children ages 13 to 17 throughout the campaign. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris repeatedly spoke out against kids in cages. I feel like this is the same thing, and that you're still detaining kids at the border, and it's not meaningfully different than what President Trump was doing.
Well, it's absolutely not the same thing, Meghan. We are not ripping children from the arms of their parents. That is horrible and immoral and something we saw in the last administration. But what we're seeing is kids are fleeing prosecution. They're fleeing really difficult circumstances in their home country, and they're coming to the border. And we need to figure out how to treat them humanely and keep them safe. And in a time of COVID, that means we needed to open an additional facility so that we could have educational services, so we could have legal services, so we could have medical and health services, and have those kids there treated humanely until we can find proper homes, family placements for these kids. This is incredibly difficult. It's heart-wrenching, and it's a really difficult decision, but this is the best decision we felt we could make to keep these kids safe and get them into the right places and right homes.
You know, there are mounting calls to remove postmaster.
That everyone has.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
I just want to know, are you or are you not detaining children separately in a different facility?
Well, Meghan, this is a facility that was reopened, it was revamped, and it was redone to have these kids in a place where they could have access to educational services, health services, so they could find proper homes. We can't send them directly to families that haven't been vetted. We've seen issues with that in the past. We can't have them all in the former HHS facility because of COVID, and we need to make sure there's safety protocols so that they're not in beds next to each other. This is incredibly
There's criticism all
difficult.
the way around, including from people within your own party like AOC, and I think there's just a lot of people that see this as hypocrisy and that it's just sort of potato. It's kids in cages or kids being separated from their families. Kids are being separated from their families.
Well, Meghan, what's important and what we all have a responsibility to do is communicate clearly about what this is and what this is not. And this is kids going to a facility run by HHS. We had to open a new one to make sure it had the safe protocols in order to address the COVID needs and the health and safety needs, because we can't have as many kids in the former HHS facility. That's exactly what we did. But our objective is to get these kids into safe homes with their families as quickly as possible. And we are absolutely not doing what the former president did and what, frankly, the current president and the current vice president objected to, which is ripping kids from the arms of their parents. That is not the policy of this administration and not something we would do.
And as you can see in Meghan McCain, Princess of Arizona form, she hijacks the segment to interject herself before Sonny could ask her a question. All right. I'm not sure if there were some technical difficulties and she wasn't sure whether or not she could ask a question or what was going on, but everybody else only got one question, and she got a question and a follow-up. So what it seems like to me is that she hijacked the segment, tried to get Jen Psaki in a peculiar situation to ask her some questions about what was going on at these facilities. From what I understand, it looks like they have what she said was they have revamped and redone these facilities so that they are more humane. They don't want to rip children from the arms of their parents, and that's not what they are trying to do. They want to make sure that these children are kept safe before they can be transferred into a more permanent situation at home. I don't really know what Meghan was hoping to gain from asking her these questions, but what I can tell is Meghan has an agenda. What it seems like to me is that Meghan wants it to be clear that what this administration isn't much different from what the past administration was doing. But what Jen was saying is that it's very much different. So Meghan is trying to conserve what little bit of conservatorship or conservatism there is left, okay? Her plan is to go on The View every single day and make it look like conservatives aren't bad. And that's what the purpose of those line of questions were. She wants to make it look like conservatives aren't bad. Like she said yesterday, that conservatives aren't trying to end the world, okay? That's her agenda, and that's what she is set to do while she's on The View, to make conservatives not look bad. But baby girl, in the meantime, you're making yourself look bad, because all you're doing is either complaining, whining, or hijacking segments and not letting the other co-hosts speak. I think Meghan should probably just dial it down a little bit and, change her attitude and her approach to other people when it comes to situations like this, and just being a conservative in general. She can be kind of hot-headed and aggressive, and if she doesn't want people to come at her on the defense, she should take her own advice and dial it down a little bit, okay? To come dial the temperature down and cool it off, all right, Princess of Arizona? And as far as the co-host of The View and their potential futures, it looks like everybody is doing pretty well. It's being reported that The View is the most watched daytime talk show, taking the top spot in all 21 weeks of original telecast this season in households and 20 of 21 weeks in total viewers. So it looks like everybody on The View is doing pretty well. The ratings are good. I don't think the executives are going to change anything up considering how well the show is doing. Now, I can say that Meghan McCain had her baby sometime in September. Now, I think these ratings are from the time that she was in maternity leave. So what it looks like is that they had some of their most rated shows when she was in maternity leave. I'm not quite sure how the show is doing post that, but it looks like for the time that Meghan McCain was not there, the show was doing pretty well. But what I can tell you is that The View has improved from the previous week this week. So most of the information that comes into this rating has to do with when Meghan McCain was on maternity leave. But even so, since she's been back, they have been improving from week to week. So that's why I say that it seems like everybody's place on The View is pretty much solidified, unless somebody decides that they want to quit or something drastic happens and they get fired. All right, moving on from that, if you aren't aware, this Free Britney movement has been getting some action, quite a lot lately. There is a documentary on Hulu titled Framing Britney that is produced by the New York Times, and it goes through her career from start to where it is today. Gives you an inside look at her relationship with Justin Timberlake when she was on tour, the dynamics with her and her father and her family. It's a lot of things that we didn't know. I know I was watching it and I was really shocked to learn of the things that Britney went through. It seems like the media played it to be that Britney was crazy, that she was psychotic and she had a mental breakdown. Granted, that might be the case considering all the things that she went through, but I think the media played a really big role in the way that she was perceived and her mental state. Because in the documentary, you can see that the paparazzi were following her everywhere she went. And I think that infamous Britney moment when she shaved her head was a way for her to take back the narrative and to control the way that she was being seen. And after a person harasses you or people harass you constantly, it's just like poking a bear. The more times you poke the bear, the more likely that it's going to react and bite your finger. So I think that's exactly what happened. The paparazzi continued to poke the bear, which was Britney, and she just snapped. And I really can't blame her for that, because at the end of the day, we're all human and we all have our breaking points. But for this interview on GMA in particular, Jamie Spears, who is Britney Spears' father, has a lawyer named Vivica Thoreen, I believe her name is. If I'm probably pronouncing her last name incorrectly, forgive me. But from what I could see of this interview, it seemed very, very, very planned out. It looks like she stood in the mirror for hours and practiced these responses. I don't know if GMA submitted questions to her before they had the interview. I'm not sure what the stipulations of this interview were, but what I can see from it, it looks like her responses were not organic at all. Or maybe she's just really good she has some really good media training. The interview to me seemed very weird and robotic, and it didn't seem like she was being genuine. So I have to ask, like, is she lying? The whole Free Britney movement is so confusing and so concerning and odd. And this is just another layer to it to me. Another question that I have would be, why hasn't Britney just said anything publicly to the press or on her Instagram? I'm sure she could get on Instagram Live and just say whatever she wanted to say, and that would probably put some of this to bed. And Jamie Spears, her father, has been saying that she can't take care of herself. She needs somebody to watch over her finances and her health. But I find that very confusing and weird and probably not true, because how can a person record albums, go on tour, and have one of the highest paid residencies in Las Vegas, but still need somebody to take care of her finances and her health? I think if Britney is able to take care of, her tour schedule and learning routines on stage, remembering lyrics, and also taking care of her health and going to sleep and whatever being a pop star, I think she can take care of her finances and her estate. I think it's come to a place where Britney does not need a conservatorship anymore, and what it sounds like, these people are money hungry and they don't want to lose control of their piggy bank. They want to keep their hands around or control Britney's purse strings so that she can't stop lining their pockets or putting coins in their bank accounts. I don't know what needs to happen, but I feel like the judges that have been presiding over these cases need to be looked at as well, because how is it that Britney has been in conservatorship since she was 20? She's almost 40, I believe, and we're still talking about this. I feel like it comes to a point where we need to reevaluate this situation and free Britney. But also, in light of this, there have been reports of some racial slurs on the part of Britney's parents. Columbus Short has a few things to say on his podcast or on his docuseries or something like that, where he was talking about how him and Britney had a fling because he was one of Britney's backup dancers. And basically, her parents called him the N-word. Now, I definitely believe that, considering where they're from in Louisiana, and, it's not surprising, to be quite honest. Now, moving on to the drama that's been going on with Basketball Wives, all right? There's been drama with Malaysia, there's been drama with Evelyn, OG, Kristen, everybody. Now, I'm gonna give you a rundown of everybody and my opinions on the cast just to start. Okay, to begin with, we have Malaysia, who is bi-coastal between Atlanta and Los Angeles. Now, to me, I feel like the whole cast should reside and live in Los Angeles if the title of the show is Basketball Wives LA. The entire cast should reside there and live there 24/7, okay? I don't really understand why we still have cast members on shows that don't live in the city where the show is taped. All right, so Malaysia lives in Atlanta and also LA. She is bi-coastal. Now we have Shawnee, who is, I believe, the executive producer of the show or one of the producers of the show for sure. She doesn't even live in LA. She lives in Houston. So, girl, just step back, remove yourself from the cast, and just executive produce the show. As well, we have Jennifer, who is kind of just there in my opinion. She seems to have a chip on her shoulder this season. As well, we have Evelyn, the hothead, the person that everybody knows is that is a loudmouth and aggressive and, just fiery, to say the least. And we have Kristen, who I believe is the youngest girl of the group. I like to call her Airhead because when I first saw Kristen, I thought she was a little, the lights were on, but when nobody was home kind of girl. And then we have Jackie Christie. She seems to be pretty cool this season, trying to be peacemaker and, bring everybody together for a kumbaya type of moment. And we have OG. Now, OG is definitely the problematic one this season. Everybody is trying to understand OG and where she's coming from. We have Phoebe, who is a newcomer of the show. She is an ex. And we have Liza Morales, who is an ex of Lamar Odom. Now, another problem that I have with this show and this cast is that most of the girls are exes. Everyone is an ex except for Kristen, OG, and Jackie, okay? We know Jackie and Doug have been married forever. Kristen is married to an ex-NBA coach. We know that Jackie and Doug have been married forever, and OG is still with her boyfriend, who is a overseas player, all right? So we know that OG has been trying to get a ring on her finger for 2 seasons now since she's been on the show. That was her main storyline when she came on the show, to see when she was going to get married. Now, this season so far, we've been seeing everybody trying to navigate OG's claims of being racially discriminated against, as well as claims of colorism. Now, as far as the racism and colorism claims, I 100% believe that there are instances where women are discriminated against based on the color of their skin, as well as their racial and ethnic backgrounds. Now, OG is a girl that is of African descent. She talks about this on the show. She has very African features compared to the other girls that have very Eurocentric features. There was some disagreement, and basically OG was more aggressive. Now, a lot of the girls on this show and reality shows in general are aggressive, and they just they're very opinionated people. We know this. We've seen this time and time again. Women on reality shows fight. They talk crazy to each other. That's the game and the business of reality TV. Now, OG is making claims of the girls discriminating against her based on the color of her skin and her race, specifically Evelyn. Now, it's even come to a point where Evelyn had to issue a lawsuit for defamation because OG has been talking about this nonstop. Evelyn was getting threats. People were talking about killing her. All because Evelyn had made some comments, but also she made a post on Instagram that included a monkey. Now, of course, after OG had already made these claims, that made her more upset. I think that in that instance was just bad taste and poor judgment on Evelyn's part. I think somebody probably should have told her, girl, you already facing these claims. Why would you use this monkey when talking about a situation that involves a black woman, considering how monkeys and black people can be seen as a racial slur and caricature that is very disrespectful. Evelyn has been saying time and time again that she is not racist and she isn't a colorist because her kids are black. Now, I have to say that using that as a defense is not a good one, or a good excuse for that matter. That's just kind of equivalent to saying I have black friends when a white person says that they're not racist. So I think she needs to reevaluate her defense in this and come back with more concrete evidence. Now, as far as Evelyn being a colorist and racist, I have to say I don't think so. Based on what OG is saying, she's saying that the girls have discriminated against her because of the way that she reacted and calling her aggressive. Granted, I'm not negating and I'm not saying that these instances don't happen. What I think is happening here is that OG is facing not being liked, and Shawnee and the rest of the girls showing favoritism towards Evelyn. Some type of relationship with most of the girls. So, of course, they're going to lean more towards Evelyn in this situation. Jackie was talking to Jennifer and OG about the situation, and basically OG seems to have a really big chip on her shoulder, and she doesn't want to get over this anytime soon. Jennifer seems to be a negative Nancy also. She is just over everybody else, and she wants to sit in her corner over there and not deal with everybody else. But I have to say, at some point, you have to be open to communicating or nobody's going to get anywhere. So again, I think it's favoritism and not fitting in is what OG is most upset about. I don't think that there is an issue of colorism here. I think there's definitely an issue of favoritism, but as far as racism and colorism, I don't see it. But also, when Kristen and OG were having a conversation, OG was just over it. Like, she didn't even want to be open to explaining herself. And I have to say, when in situations like this, for, you know, for Black people, for other people to be able to understand what we're going through when it comes to racism and colorism issues, we have to be willing to explain to them and help them understand. It shouldn't be our job because it should be understood. If we're going to end this continuous pattern of there being racism and discrimination, somebody has to say something. If both of us are going to sit at the end of the table and not hear what each other have to say, there's no moving forward. So I think OG should continue to try to explain herself and help the girls understand how she's feeling, because if not, nobody's gonna get anywhere. And I have to give Kristen kudos because she definitely went over to that other house with every intention of listening, understanding, and being open to learning what OG was going through. But OG was being a very, very negative Nancy about the situation and didn't even want to explain to Kristen what she was feeling. She said, I haven't told anybody what I was feeling, so I don't know. Y'all don't know what I was feeling. Like, girl, what? Like, let these people understand what you're feeling so that y'all can move forward. But all in all, I really think that the show needs a refresh. I know that these new girls might have some interesting perspectives and bring some new stuff to the show. Especially, I have to say, I am really intrigued with Liza Morales. I don't know if it's because she is the ex of Lamar Odom or what it is. I feel like we're gonna learn a lot about the relationship and how she navigates trying to get her child's education funds, okay? The child is trying to go to college and she has been getting the runaround from Lamar Odom. But I'm sure we'll be learning a lot more about that and so much more on the episodes to come on Basketball Wives. So I hope you guys tune in. I know I will be. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, be sure to give it a thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button so you can join us in the closet and you won't miss out on any of the celebrity tea and news that I have to bring to you all. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.